Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the 10 Count Podcast brought to you by Bodyslam.net. And as Zach mentioned in the chat on YouTube, it is Happy National Lemon Bar Day. I do not have any lemon bars, nor do I care for one right now because we're just double fisting beer and milk because people, when you get to be a little older and your GERD starts to rustle in, you got to have some milk when you drink some beers. I mean, maybe it's just me because I'm weird as shit, but it helps. Justin, how's it going today, my man?
It's going. It's a day. We had a great weekend of professional wrestling. We will dive into it. We had Bound for Glory. We had Crown Jewel. We had a crazy ending to Monday Night Raw, which I'm sure we'll discuss. NXT was great. We got to see Matt Cardona wrestle in a WWE ring for the first time in God knows how long. But yeah, we'll dive into it. I know you're going through a move, and you're expecting within a week and a half. So I mean, your life's got to be way crazier than mine right now.
Yeah, like you said, there is a lot to unpack in wrestling and in my home. So if anyone wants to come help unpack and go through some shit, let me know. I could use the help. But yeah, I really want to go into, because the weekend, as you mentioned, was phenomenal. You know, starting off Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Crown Jewel was, I think, more than I expected. It was a lot of fun. Matches were great. But I kind of want to start with Bound for Glory because they set a new attendance record, and their PLEs or pay-per-views, whatever they call them, are really just starting to rear up. Like I expect a lot from TNA, from when they do their premium live events, because we got to see, the Hardys versus the Dudleys, and in a fashion where, it was a passing of the guard, like you're the better team kind of moment. We also got to see, which I want to dive into first, is two of the youngest stars in wrestling today go head to head in what was one of the best matches, but also one of the worst endings ever. I mean, I don't know how you felt, Justin, but for me, the stops and the moments they had in that match, the extended time for that match just for the ending like that, man, I was a bit disappointed.
Yeah, I know we'll get into the rest of the show. The show, for me, I don't know, man. There is some poor booking decisions on my end. I just, there's some things that did not hit. The crowd was telling them that it didn't hit. You saw the reaction on X and all over social media that some of those things did not hit. And I think, like we're going into right now, Javon Evans, Leon Slater, man, we knew that they were going to tear the house down. You kind of wanted to see this match happen once, we knew that this was going to happen between TNA and NXT. You kind of spoke it into fruition. Bound for Glory, TNA's biggest pay-per-view of the year. They showed out. It was crazy. I love that they gave him the extra 5 minutes. Everyone wanted that, because I was about to say if they went in just a no, no DQ draw time limit, then I would have went crazy. I probably would have turned off the pay-per-view. But what happened didn't make it any better.
No.
Yeah, you get Dark State. I don't. There was no need to protect Javon Evans. I think Javon should have lost clean. The match was phenomenal. There was neither man looked weak in that match. I thought they both shined like hell. My favorite match of the night. Just to have Dark State come out and attack both of them, make it a draw after the 5 minute, time limit extension, made no sense to me. I don't know where they're going with this now. I don't know if they're going to try to do a 6-man. I don't know what the hell they're thinking, but Leon Slater on Bound for Glory, the X Division champion, should have rightfully defeated Javon Evans. Javon would have been fine. You did not need to go this route. Yeah, it left a sour taste in my mouth because I loathed the ending of that match.
Yeah, and you could see how passionate they were and how thrilled they were to, take that stage by storm. And all eyes were on that. I love the moment where they were going to get into that chop fest, and you get the cutter by Javon Evans, and then the bouncy cutter, and like what a sick moment! Like the false finishes too. Just those two. This could have been like the start of an awesome rivalry, and it is. But I feel like not having a winner kind of diminishes that. Like that first match, Leon Slater. I think Javon's in NXT. He's in WWE. He's on the larger platform. More eyes are on him. And I think having Leon Slater win that could have helped him even more and put more eyes on him and put more eyes on TNA, especially in a high profile moment like that. But for Dark State to come out and be like, oh, they were fodder for losing to the Hardys, that's one of the dumbest freaking things that they could have come up with. And I agree with you, Justin. Javon could have taken a loss. We've seen him taking losses to Oba and stuff. He's fine. The kid is on another level. I mean, so is Leon Slater. But for a pay-per-view where kind of TNA was taking back the reins, Leon should have won that. And I don't know, man. I didn't hate a lot of their booking decisions that night, but this one really just pissed me off, especially the extra 5 minutes and then just stopping the match that way. It was just dumb.
And this I know this could have been a best of 3, a best of 5. And I know you want to keep these two because they are both spectacles in themselves. They are both rare talents in the industry. So I know you want it to be special, but they could have went that route where all of a sudden, all right, Leon, you got the upper hand on me at Bound for Glory. Now you're going to come to NXT and we're going to do this I don't know what the next one is, but let's just NXT No Mercy, and then they have match 2 there. Maybe Javon gets the upper hand there. No X Division title on the line. And then you could end up doing it at like TakeOver, NXT TakeOver, the biggest wrestling weekend of the whole year. You could have just kept building this up. I know they're both faces, so that's kind of tough too. But for these two, it's respect. It's a respect thing. They're both these young up-and-comers. They're both taking over the divisions, rightfully so. I think they could have just done so much more with this. And now we're just going to end up with them on a team against Dark State. And Dark State, man, I cannot stand you.
I know. I mean, maybe that's what they wanted. Maybe they wanted more heat for Dark State. And I guess, if that's the decision they were trying to go for, I guess bravo, you did it. I think people are kind of pissed off at them just for that booking decision. But, I don't think they're going to beat the Hardys. And then, if they don't get the NXT championships back, the tag titles back, where do they go from there? So it's kind of, to me, if they do lose the Hardys and they don't win back the NXT tag team championships, that ruining of the end of that match just makes it that much worse. And Randy, howdy, as always, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you as always. So, yeah, that kind of baffled me big time. But I do want to talk about something that didn't baffle me, was the TNA World Championship match. And, we finally got Mike Santana getting his big moment, with his daughter in the crowd. And the one thing I do want to call out, which I think it shows a testament to Trick Williams, and how he definitely is the bona fide future of this company. That man, in a picture posted on X, when Mike Santana was making it to the back, Trick was front and foremost in that picture, clapping for Santana, and that's a dude that's not even in his company, on his brand, and it just shows like how proud he is for both those brands, both TNA, both NXT. So I just want to shout out Trick Williams because dude is a class act. I know he's supposed to be a heel right now, but that moment, like I know, it kind of breaks kayfabe a little bit, but to me, just shows the character that Trick is. He's a team player. He wants to elevate who he can, where he can, whatever he can. And I can't wait to see more from Trick Williams.
Yeah, phenomenal main event. Loved it. Obviously, that was the outcome that needed to happen, especially after me and you being at Slammiversary and seeing Trick end up retaining. Rightfully so. That it was a good payoff. So that was like good things. When good things come to those who wait, like that was a good payoff. I enjoyed seeing that. I also think that it shows that Trick, like if WWE wanted to see if Trick Williams is a draw, I think it proved it, man. I mean, Trick Williams as TNA champion is, I don't want to say it's just him, but as TNA champion, they have the two largest houses that they've ever had in North America, and that's being Slammiversary and Bound for Glory. So Trick can do it all, man. Trick, I don't know where Trick goes from here. That's another question that I wanted to ask you. Does he go back for the NXT? Like now, is he just back for the NXT title? I don't know if we're going to see him back in TNA for a little bit. I know Tommy Dreamer on Busted Open said that he is due, his rematch if he wants it. I don't know if it's going to happen. But man, I'm ready to see Trick and I want to see Trick and Carmelo back together on SmackDown. I would love to see that. And Trick is definitely a future world champion in WWE. No doubt about it.
This is how I feel it's going to go down because they led off with, Ava saying that Trick and Ricky are going to have a contract signing next week as long as they don't go to blows. So I think Trick will fight for the NXT championship. I think he'll lose. I think then after that, he'll try and re-challenge for the TNA, world championship, lose that. And man, call him up. That dude is so primed and ready. I was never in an arena with Trick before we went to Slammiversary. And the aura that guy brings in, even, the fans of TNA that don't care about Trick, everyone's singing Whoop That Trick, dancing, getting hype. Like, that dude brings an element to professional wrestling that not many people can. Like, he has it. And I don't know, man. I don't know if I'd want to see Carmelo and Trick back together. I'd love to see Trick get drafted or even, win a Money in the Bank ladder match. And maybe even like if Braun Breaker becomes champion, cash in on him, hash that feud up. Two of the youngest guys, the up-and-comers, the future of this company going head-to-head early for the World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE Championship. So that's what I would love to see with Trick. I think they're going to, play him out a little bit longer within NXT and TNA. Then they got to call him up. Like, to me, he's the most main roster ready.
Yeah, and with the call-up, I feel like I just had like a flashback to maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. We had a talk on this podcast with Court about the draft, the last draft that happened. And the only thing that worries me, and it still to this day worries me about NXT talent getting called up to the main roster, is them not having a plan for said talent. We've seen it before where said talent gets called up from NXT, they're doing great, and then boom, they're getting released because they have no idea what the hell to do with them. There's a lot of mouths to feed in WWE. There's not that much airtime. So that's the one thing. Like, I need to know that Trick Williams has this whole storyline planned out for maybe even like 4 or 5 months just to get his feet wet on the main roster. That's what I need to know that is happening for Trick Williams, and I'm sure he'll flourish.
Yeah, and I'm afraid of the Carmelo Hayes effect, where drafted number one, and look what we're dealing with right now. The man's kind of an afterthought. I think we need to get past the John Cena retirement tour. AJ said he's not going past 2026. So if we get past, AJ's retirement, that, opens up 2 really big spots. And, I don't want Dominic off WTV, but they could potentially, focus him on AAA. So, that opens up a spot. But right now, I think the men have an opportunity because the women are so hot in professional wrestling that they take over these shows, and rightfully so. And I think it's time for the men to be like, use that as competition, right? Look at all the female led programs and rivalries and championship matches we're getting that are excelling a lot of what the men are doing right now. So I think there's a lot of people on NXT, especially on the men's roster, that are ready just to come up and tear shit up, and rightfully so. And that's what I want.
My wife says gross. Maria, just drive home safe. You have our child in the car. Anyway, I want to know what you think about, or what you thought about, the Dudleys versus the Hardys, because I'll give you my opinion first, because a lot of people did not like the ending. People thought the ending was awkward. A lot of people said it was a Ric Flair HBK-esque moment. I loved the nostalgia. I think Jeff Hardy is still nuts for doing a swanton bomb off the top of a ladder at his age. I thought that the Dudleys might have rushed their shtick a little too quickly with the WhatsApp and all that. Like they got that in within the first minute and a half of the match, 2 minutes. I enjoyed it, but the ending was like, people are not enjoying the ending. I'm on the fence. I get, like, Bully Ray stood up. He knew what his fate was, but it was just, in a way, just kind of awkward. I want to know what you thought about the ending and the match in general.
Yeah, I kind of like, obviously, like you said, nostalgia factor obviously has me hyped, but I think those are two teams. Obviously the Dudleys are on their way out, right? They gave the Hardys their boots at the end, but the Hardys are right there too. And that swanton that Jeff did, Jeff pretty much missed Devon for the most part and went through a ladder by himself, table by himself. I think they're older. They're trying to fill the gimmicks that they were so rightfully owned and championed back in the day, and it's tough. I think it's harder for them on their bodies and stuff. I think, was it awkward? Sure, but I didn't hate it because at the end of the day, it was a nod to the Hardys. It was a nod to you guys are the better team. You guys are the ones that really held together the 90s 2000s tag team wrestling scene. You guys were that team, and this is our thanks to you guys. For me, that's how I took it. And I don't know, it's hard because who knows if the Dudleys are actually done. It seems like they are. Bubba's doing a lot of things for WWE, so maybe he doesn't care about getting in the ring anymore. I think Devon's pretty much done. He probably just was like, yeah, I'll do one more match. But I can't hate on it. To me, the Hardys are super hot right now. They have like 3-4 tag championships they're holding right now. They're on top of their game, even though they're getting older and a little more rustier. But they're on top. They're the champs, multiple brand champs, and why not give the nod to them at the end of that match. So yeah, I didn't hate it that much.
And then, like you just mentioned, with the Dudleys retiring, we obviously saw both of them take their boots off, hand them to the Hardys. Devon, I knew. So that's why I kind of knew what the outcome was going to be. So I just wanted to sit there and enjoy this match and just enjoy the nostalgia aspect of the match. So Devon, we knew like this was it for him. Bully, I'm kind of shocked. So people are speculating that this was the Dudley Boys retiring and that we still may see Bully Ray in a ring, but after him losing the Crown Jewel HOG Crown Jewel Championship to Zilla in like 20 seconds, and then 3 weeks later he loses this match, people are saying that Bully might be hanging him up too. I mean, he has Busted Open. He does a phenomenal job of Busted Open Radio, and like you said, LFG, he's still in ties with WWE, so maybe he is just done. But I don't know. I thought maybe his last match would have possibly been in WWE, but he's also very, very well known for his time and his run in TNA.
I think there's still a chance. I think you mentioned it too. Like, there could be the Bully Ray aspect of it, but who knows? I mean, I'm not gonna fault the guy, if it is at the the Dudley send off and not his send off, because he is very actively still in this world, and he'll probably want to get in another match or two just being around it. So Would I be mad at him if he did? No. I mean, again, I'll take it like you did, right? That's the Dudleys signing off, but maybe Bully Ray still has a little bit left in the tank. I do want to get into Crown Jewel now because
hold on. We got to get into one more thing before we get off Bound for Glory.
all right.
How did you feel about dual Call Your Shot trophy champions?
I don't know yet. I don't know because if it works out the way I think it's going to, I won't hate it because it'll be funny. But I think Kazarian at the end of the day, does deserve his TNA World Championship. And, we had Ziggler, tease it to cash in to get beat up by Elijah. But what I think is going to happen, and if it does happen this way, I don't hate it. I won't hate it. Say if Kazarian cashes in and wins, and then Dolph then cashes in on him and wins it right off of him. I think that sets it up for a great feud between the two of them. And especially, I think Kazarian should come out on top at that point because he deserves his TNA World Championship. He's been a TNA lifer, and he's put his, blood, sweat, and tears into that TNA ring to help keep it, afloat to a point where we have it now where they're setting records, where they're, partnership with NXT and WWE. So if it happens in that way, I'm all for it. But if it doesn't, it's pointless. It's kind of stupid to have a I forget the name of it, but the co-award thing.
Call Your Shot champions. Yeah, I'm with you. I thought it fell flat, and it definitely fell flat for the crowd. The crowd was not happy. Yeah. And you could see that clearly you need the trophy in hand to give it to the referee. So that's kind of what screwed over Frankie. So it's going to, I guess they're going to play this out for a few weeks. Like, all right, here, you can take it this week. It's like a, co-parenting in a way, and the baby is the trophy. I'll let it play out. Like you said, if it plays out the way that you just called, I'll be okay with it. But there was a lot of fallback on that booking decision. So I just, before we moved on, I wanted to know what you thought about that.
Yeah, it just depends on how they go about it, because TNA of past would continue to butcher what they just did. But I think we're seeing a TNA that's, I'm not going to say making smarter booking decisions because of based off reactions of this past pay-per-view with Bound for Glory, but I think they are making better booking decisions. I think they are taking better steps with their brand, with their programming, with their storylines. So if they continue to push and learn from their mistakes, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm cool with it. Now I've said my piece on Bound for Glory, so let's get into Crown Jewel.
Bro, we got to talk about John Cena, AJ Styles, because I feel like I say it every time John Cena is back on TV nowadays, post SummerSlam. This is what should have been happening since day one of the retirement tour. This match was epic. The amount of different nods to different characters, the Bray Wyatt nod with the Fireflies, the crowd was on point for that. Shout out to the Perth crowd. They were awesome. And shout out to AJ coming out in the TNA garb, all that stuff is so cool. And it just makes me, it makes me happy that this happened and AJ was able to have that match with John in a crowd that was going crazy, that they were able to, pull finishers from their respective past with, AJ with his, the Cohina clutch, the one winged angel or whatever what is, and then John Cena just pulling out the chokeslam, the tombstone, the
almost 619.
Yeah, the almost 619. Yeah, it's just to me, I am so happy that we're getting that. But to me, this is how that run should have been the entire time. It should have been these nods. It should have been these high-profile matches where it was fun because, kind of cuffing Cena as a heel at that point didn't allow him to have the fun, especially with that gimmick of, I'm going to ruin wrestling. And that just ruined his retirement tour. Not only did he ruin wrestling, he ruined his retirement tour. And granted, he got his 17th championship, but I think that could have been done in a better way. I think if he would have won Money in the Bank and cashed it in, won it for a month, and then lost it, I think that would have been perfectly fine. But here we are. We can't dwell too much in the past. But I think that was a service, for everyone, the fans, the people they've wrestled in the past. They're both on their way out. John Cena's retiring earlier than AJ. AJ is retiring next year. And it was just fun. And the crowd was into it. I think everyone online was into it. You can see everyone, posting all those moments. It was just so refreshing and awesome.
It was incredible. That's what it was. It was absolutely an incredible match. It was a perfect homage just to even professional wrestling in itself. There were so many people coming out of the woodworks saying that that was the perfect match. And you're right. It's unfortunate that the John Cena, as cool as it was in the beginning, the John Cena heel turn, as shocking as it was, as much as we wanted to see it, it really took a turn when the whole Travis Scott fallout happened. We don't get The Rock ever again. So, I mean, it sucks. It does suck. It was cool, but you're right. If this is what we were going to get the whole time, we wasted quite a few months of this, and that sucks. I want to give a shout out to Sam Roberts. I was listening to his podcast, and he said that this match was, like I said, the perfect homage to just wrestling in general, and another match that doesn't get enough credit for it because it was during the COVID time was Edge and Randy Orton, quoted as the greatest wrestling match ever. And it was kind of this, it was the same thing, but the crowd wasn't there. They couldn't feed off the crowd. They couldn't hear 619 and all of a sudden just call a spot where they're going to tease the 619. So I actually went back and I watched that match between Edge and Randy Orton, and it was a fantastic match. And I remember actually kind of hating the name. That you can go back into our archives. I hated the name, despised the name. I was like, this is stupid. There's no title on the line. It is what it is. But yeah, man, it just kind of sucks that this is now, we have 4 appearances left. Yeah, 4 appearances left by John Cena. I know the tickets, the pre-sale for his final match went absolutely absurd today. That's all I saw on Twitter, or X, should I say. But I also wanted to throw out there, I know it's probably not going to happen, but if you look at John Cena's Instagram, the last picture he posted was Matt Cardona in an NXT ring, kind of showing, respect to Matt Cardona. That's a match that I want to see. The history that Matt Cardona and John Cena have together, I want to see it so badly. Matt Cardona deserves it. Cena deserves it. I think a lot of people secretly want that match, but will it happen in the last 4 appearances? I don't know. But yeah, if we can make it happen, if the internet can make it happen, I want to see Cardona versus John Cena one last time.
Yeah, it'd be cool. Especially John Cena still his girl.
Yeah, I respect, bro.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're due. I gave a chuckle because I saw David Otunga say on someone's podcast that Cena can't retire until he deals with the Nexus, which everyone's trying to get a piece of the John Cena retirement tour money. But, hey, I'd be for it. Wade's still there. Otunga's, wants it. That was a moment in time where I really liked that storyline. I think they kind of butchered it a little bit by having Cena and that Survivor Series team go over. But yeah, there's a lot of things I want to see with only 4 dates left. And that's what kind of bums me out. I think Cena should have won the Intercontinental Championship before he retired because it's the only championship that eluded him, and make him like a full Grand Slam champion. And I don't think we're going to get that happen because what? Is he going to win it one week and then lose it the next again? And not to diminish John, but Dom's holding that title down, man. Like I don't know if he could take that championship off him right now, especially, being the mega champion for AAA and then also, being an Intercontinental champion in WWE. Like, he's bringing eyes to a lot of products, especially as a double champion. So I don't know if that would work right now. I would have loved to see that as like a detour in the beginning of his retirement tour. But what do we get next? Like, the thing that kind of piqued in my brain was I was like, that match against Brock, he got destroyed and then comes back and does that with AJ. To me, like, what a waste. To me, that was so stupid having Brock win the way he did. And are they going to fight one more time? Is that going to be his final retirement match? And if it is, that kind of sucks. I'm not going to lie. Like, I don't want to see John's last match against Brock just for some redemption that should have been done, the last time they wrestled.
Yeah, I think they're done. And we've discussed this prior on this podcast, is with the amount of dates remaining, you can't build a storyline. So everything now has to be done online. That's why I'm holding out hope for this miraculous Cardona Cena match, because in reality, that's how Styles and Cena was built, right? It was built online. There's going to be no story to any of these matches. I just don't know how you can't waste a date on a promo now. So I feel like the last 4 appearances have to all be matches. So sure, there are the rumors that Survivor Series we might see Dom and Cena for the IC title. Could make sense. At that point, sure, I would love to see Cena win. But then Cena just his next match has to be for the IC title. Or does he lose the IC title as his final match to, I'm hoping, still Drew McIntyre? I don't know. So here I was thinking maybe we get Cena at War Games. I don't know. It could be the reality that we get Dom and Cena for the IC title, and he becomes that Grand Slam champion.
Yeah. Well, let's get into kind of like War Games, and what match we're kind of alluding to is the fact that we thought we were probably going to get the Vision versus like an epic team of Roman, Cody, Cena. Obviously Monday Night Raw happened. Rollins was saying at the beginning of the night that he didn't need anyone, and then he got speared by Braun Breaker and he got tsunami. And now the Vision is now in shambles without a Seth Rollins. Assuming that's going to happen, right? Because why would they turn on him? But maybe that opens Cena to now go for that IC title. But I hate it, because if his last match isn't going to be for the IC championship, that means he's going to lose his last 2 matches. So you would have to make sure that he retains the next match and then loses it on his last match. So if that were to happen, sure, like I'm fine with it. But I would hate for Cena just to win the championship, just to like lose it the next time. And I think that would be pointless. I think, great, he won it, but now he lost it. What a waste of dates, in my opinion, at that point. Could you see, speaking of like your Cardona Vision, he has 4 dates left in WWE. Can he sneak in a date with TNA that doesn't count? Maybe wrestle his first ever match on TNA soil, maybe against the Matt Cardona.
I don't know, because all right, so this is the bugaboo about Matt Cardona, and I love him. The guy is a grinder. He's a workhorse. On NXT, obviously he had to come out with the TNA nameplate by his name on his entrance, but I don't think he's under TNA contract. So that's the whole bugaboo about it. Like he's not employed by TNA as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. But I can now see now you and I are just kind of fantasy booking. I could see Survivor Series, Cena Dom, Cena winning, Cena becoming Grand Slam champion. What is a title that Matt Cardona, aka Zack Ryder, loved holding? The Intercontinental Championship. I could totally see at that point then Cardona versus Cena. Cena defends it. Cena retains. Now you have 2 dates left. And I don't know. You could fit. Joe Hendry still wants a match between Cena and him. I don't know if you do all of a sudden Joe Hendry versus Cena, and then you finish off with Drew and Cena, because then at least you have 2 title defenses.
Yeah,
for Cena. So next match, win the IC title, defense, and then you lose it to Drew at your last match. I can totally see that happening. I 1000% think Cena is losing his last match. I think he is going out on his back. And I think he knows that's how it's supposed to happen, and that's the right way to do it. But yeah, if all of a sudden it's Dom, Cardona somehow, Hendry somehow, don't you think a few people in WWE are going to be pissed off about that?
Probably. If we listen to the Perth crowd, we all know who they want to be one of John Cena's matches. On this day, that to me, like if Drew McIntyre, Mike, I guess I have a question for you. If it's not Drew McIntyre, who should be his last match? Because to me, I'd give fucking AEW whatever money they wanted to get Edge for one last night, because to me that would be the perfect, completion of Cena's story, because that feud in 2005, 2006 between Edge and Cena put Cena really on the map, and also Edge. To me, that would be the biggest fan service of all time.
I mean, you said it, but is it going to happen? Absolutely not. So I low key hate, like, I know why AEW did the whole thing with Adam Copeland talking to Chris and saying, I got to go home. Clearly, Beth Phoenix got destroyed by FTR. He's going to film a show. This was probably pre-planned, but it also worked perfectly in a way where, like, I don't know if it like helped AEW or made the speculation worse, because now everyone's like, oh, he's gone. Like, we actually might see Edge versus Cena. Like, that would be amazing. But if you look at all the reports, Copeland has plenty of time left on that contract. If it somehow was Copeland, I mean, hats off to whatever transaction, whatever handshake happens between WWE and AEW, because that in itself would put professional wrestling together and whole. But there's just no way in hell. It's got to be Drew McIntyre for me. I don't know who else it would be. Honestly, I really don't.
I agree. I mean, like I said, the only person I could see filling that mold at this point would be Edge, but man, it'll be a cold day in hell, I think, if that happens. But we've seen crazier things. We've seen Brett come back to the WWE. We've seen Punk. Look at him again, #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. To me, I didn't really know if Rollins was hurt from the match he had with Cody until CM Punk won. And I was like, wait a second. Because to me, it would have been like LA Knight would have been perfect for, Seth's next feud. Get LA, close to win that championship. Division helps Seth. Seth retains. Leading up to what I was hopefully speculating between Rollins and CM Punk, a clash at WrestleMania, whereas Punk could then win. But when the moment Punk won, I was like, hold up. They're going to have Punk right back in the championship contention like realm right now with Rollins. I was like, that's quick. So seeing that betrayal unfold, do you think Punk's going to win the World Heavyweight Championship? Because I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think Seth is hurt this time. It's tough for people to believe, obviously, because of the shtick that he pulled with his knee and going into SummerSlam. But I mean, that landing on that diving headbutt or whatever you want to call it, it was bad. And you can see that he instantly tensed up with his shoulder. You saw the photos of him in Perth with the sling on. He was wearing the baggy clothes on Raw, wondering what happened there. And the turn of the Vision was supposed to happen, but it was not planned for Monday Night Raw in Perth. That is for damn sure. They pushed it forward. Now, the one thing that scares me is we don't know the severity yet of this Seth Rollins injury, right? There's talks that he might need surgery, whatnot. You had Roman tell the Usos, I don't want to see y'all till Christmas. Do we end up, when Seth returns, do we see Roman and Seth back together to go up against this new Vision?
Could be crazy. That would also be a cold day in hell storyline wise, but I think that would feed some families. And everyone's speculating Moxley's gonna Moxley's set. Darby was just with what's his face? Helwani.
Ariel Helwani.
Yeah. On his podcast saying that Moxley is the locker room leader of AEW. And if that's the case, and that's true, because obviously it's true, that man ain't leaving. He don't give a shit. He's making money. He's got the Death Riders. He just came off a huge AEW World Championship reign. The dude's set. Like he is the face of AEW right now, especially if Jericho is going to make that jump back to WWE. So like, as much as it would be awesome, don't get your hopes up. Moxley ain't coming back to reform the Shield.
But here's the issue that lies ahead. Seth Rollins hurt. I believe so. I think a lot of people believe so. How long is he hurt for? Because if he needs surgery, you have to get the title off him. How do you get the title? Like, because now we have a number one contender in CM Punk. Is he just going to vacate the title now? And they're going to have some sort of fatal 4-way to get an opponent against Punk? Is that like, how do you now cleanly move away from Seth while he heals up and rehabs to where we have to get to? Because now you have a number one contender. So Seth Punk rightfully so has a match with Punk. So I once again, I'm going to bring up Sam Roberts. He said maybe you have this Monday coming up, you have Rollins just come out, he's hurt, and we know that Punk is in the wings waiting, but he says, I want Braun Breaker now. And then you kind of have Breaker squash him, wins the title, and then you have Breaker versus Punk. But then at that point, it's kind of doing a disservice to Braun Breaker, because Braun Breaker has been building up this momentum to where I don't want to see him with his first world title championship main title, main card, being a 20-second squash match against Seth Rollins.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be the route, because they knew this decision going into Monday Night Raw. They took this into consideration for the main event. CM Punk won this for a reason. And hey, I said it last week. What if CM Punk becomes the new leader of the division? What if, Seth Rollins was able to take a spear and a tsunami with his current injury? He can definitely wrestle a match with CM Punk. He ain't taking anything harder than a spear from Braun Breaker and a tsunami from Bronson Reed. I'll tell you that much. So I could see it being a quick match. I could see, the match, Seth Rollins getting beat up by the division again, toss him in the ring. CM Punk will be like, screw it, and win it. Or maybe, realign with Paul Heyman. And it could have been the biggest ruse. That could even been a bigger ruse. They could play it that Punk was with Heyman this whole time, and this was all a ploy at Rollins. I mean, I feel like that might go too far, but I don't know, man. I think they pulled the trigger on Punk for a reason, and I think they're still going to have Seth versus Punk, and just Punk pick the bones on Seth Rollins.
But now you had the whole Brock Lesnar thing. Like, Brock is still got to be an aspect somehow in this. Brock had this, hey, we should talk to Paul Heyman. We all expected that Brock would end up helping the Vision, and then that would lead to War Games. But now I have no idea where the hell we're going. And I don't know when the hell we're going to see Brock Lesnar again, nor do I really care. But he's got to be somewhere, right? He just defeated John Cena. He defeated Super Cena. And now he's just gone off to hunt boar again. I don't know. It just, they have a lot of puzzle pieces to piece together because of this injury to Seth Rollins. And I'm sure they'll figure it out, but there's a lot of question marks up in the air right now, at least for me.
Yeah, and me too. But also remember, both Brock Lesnar and CM Punk, OG Paul Heyman guys, they could fit in that mold pretty quickly. I don't know. We can see. I mean, I think it's a little far-fetched that Punk would then become leader. I think it's a cool speculation. I would think it's a cool swerve that they could pull. But Punk's just so over as a face that, I could see him just doing, oh, screw it, I'll just pin Punk. I'll pin Rollins now and win the championship. But the other, sidetrack to that is Braun Breaker holding up the World Heavyweight Championship. It looked good on him, man. And I know a lot of people were, sad, saying, this is too soon, yada, yada, yada. I don't think it's too soon. I think this injury, if it's an injury and it's real and this is why they're doing this, actually benefits him, because he's still so hot. He's still so over. And I think a year or 2 years under Rollins would have cooled him off. So why not pull the surprise factor on a random Monday night in Perth, Australia, and, turn on Seth, because I think it's going to do wonders for him.
Yeah. And why does Seth always get hurt when he's holding a title?
Always.
It sucks, man, because he's such a good worker. I also probably wouldn't have pulled that move. I don't know where the flying headbutt decided to come into effect, especially because you've never seen him really do that move. But yeah, it sucks. I'm hoping it's not long term. I'm really hoping that this injury for Seth is not long term, and he'll be back within hopefully 2.5 months. But the ending of Raw, you still need to play that out.
Yeah.
Seth just can't be written off now. I don't think so, at least. He only took one tsunami and one spear. One tsunami and one spear is not going to write someone off TV. So they still have to somehow write him off. I don't know how they do it. Hopefully Monday night we'll have that all answered.
Yeah, and I want to speak to you talking about like the flying headbutt and why he would do that. I think because this was their fourth match. Big fight feel, champion versus champion. You know, they were pulling out the stops. Even, you know, we've never seen a crossroads off the top rope before, and Rollins kicked out of it. I think they were really trying to show people a new match, right? We've seen Rollins and Cody go at it. We've seen it in Hell in a Cell. We've seen singles matches. And I think they were trying to pull out all the stops to make this feel different, you know, to make it more high stakes. And I think they delivered. And, you know, we both mentioned we thought Seth Rollins should have walked out as Crown Jewel champion. He did. He deserved it. You know, at least he won. If he's injured and has to leave for a bit, at least he won the Crown Jewel championship and got his win over Cody, because the man deserved it. I mean, he's been carrying this freaking company on his back for years and years to come. And I know people like to shit on Seth, but, you know, he's really put the work in all these years. He's been relevant all these years. He you know, he changes his gimmick just here and there to be able to, you know, change it just enough to be relevant and stay in that top picture. So if Seth, if you're hurt, I hope you get well soon. I hope it's a, you know, quick recovery, and we know you'll be back in that main event scene and the championship scene sooner rather than later.
And with that said, we are going to bring this podcast to a close. So let's ring that bell, because this podcast episode is over. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Ty, I hope by next week you're all kind of situated. I know you have a lot of things coming up for you, brother. I'm excited for you and your wife. Once again, thank you all. We will be back hopefully on Sunday. I can't even put a definite on Sundays anymore, just because of there's a lot going on in life. But we do want to get back to the quick count. So hopefully we will be back Sunday. Until then, enjoy SmackDown. I don't think we have a PLE or anything crazy coming up this weekend. So enjoy SmackDown, enjoy Impact, and enjoy life. Until next time, it is Ty, it is myself, Justin, and we will see you guys all on the next one. Peace.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you.